When you get tired of the hustle and bustle, when you're exhausted, it's the time of the revival. You need self-oblivion and the path. And we had to hit the road. The choice of the destination was not accidental. This is return to the north of Norway, where I found a severe beauty, lowering sky, where I understood how lucky I was that in the modern world of rush and madness, the emotional atmosphere of this place never leaves me. Now I am in a hurry to meet her, to wander in the sand dunes of the Kurske Spit, and to recall our journey. I drove close to the ferry crossing, which separates the unique nature of the national park from the city noise. Here ends the bustle of everyday life, and on the other bank I can see the realm of nature. It seemed to me that there is something in common between the desert dunes and the loneliness of the north. That's why I suggested meeting here. She was waiting for me among the quiet sandy hills.
Привет.
Привет.
Тебе нравится?
Да, что-то есть в этом просторе. Тишина, одиночество.
Как добрался?
Хорошо, быстро. Ведь не нужно было так долго собираться в путь, как тогда.
Departure day and the last check of the route.
Вроде все. Пора.
And we depart, feeling a foretaste of the long-awaited return to the north, leaving the city and then the country. We drive down to the forest road close to the evening and reach a small lake. The noise of a busy road is far away now. We know the place well. We stopped many times to spend the night here, and the forest, the quiet lake, and tea before going to sleep. The next morning was sunny and windy. The weather allowed us to get ready to start our journey without hurry. Our route passed by St. Petersburg, with its crazy traffic and its pace of life straight to the forest of Karelia. I could recall the landscape more and more, and I could not wait to see the well-known from the childhood places for one more time.
Интересно приехать в те места, в которых не был уже 20 лет. А здесь ведь ничего не изменилось. Ничего. Кроме психологии людей, которые оставляют здесь просто кучу мусора. Кстати, как тебе Петрозаводск?
Петрозаводск? Дороги в ямах, недосмотренные дома.
Подожди, а как Женевское озеро?
It is such an interesting feeling, having passed through the streets of Petrozavodsk, well known from the childhood. We stopped on the other side of the lake Onega and looked at the city from the distance. We wandered along the deserted city beach, and I was telling stories about this place.
Этот район Петрозаводска называется Пески. Когда-то здесь совершали свои полеты маленькие самолеты во все уголки Карелии. Давай, наверное, будем собираться.
Tourism. For many countries, it's probably the main item of the national budget replenishment, an income for the local population. Read attempts to understand something about the culture of another country, its national identity. Most of the time it's like an Unreal, the game. Quite often it is based on nothing more than a tourism, marketing messages. But I did not want to think about that when we were there, in the Uspenskaya church in Kondopoga. There is no complicated carving and golden tops like in Kiji. Simple and concise decor makes special impression. It was morning and there was not a soul in the table. We slowly examined the antique furniture of the refectory. Then we examined the church itself. The five-tier iconostasis with ancient icons and painted ceiling were of major importance. I looked at this decoration and listened inside of myself. My heart was silent. Maybe because I knew that the popularity of the temple that attracts crowds of tourists here was only a modern trend of the touristic epidemic. After all, in order to feel the depths of the sacred temple, it is not enough that this place was only an intermediate point in the itinerary.
А мне запомнился рабочий Островск. Унылые здания, люди с бидонами пресной воды. Почему Лунгин выбрал именно это место?
Я думаю, пейзаж близ Соловецкого монастыря.
Some works of art are intended to fill the spiritual void in the inner space of the person, which so carefully washed away by modern world. Pavel Lungin's film The Isle took this mission. Need to confess, I had a dream to visit the place. And here it is, the gloomy and lonely shrine and the boiler room of Father Anatoly. Although I clearly understood that this was just an illusion of the cinema, it didn't stop me from feeling the emotional mood of this profound movie. And we stopped here for a night. The next day there was a clear sparkling morning in the village, the calm atmosphere of this place slowly vanishing. We still have a long road ahead. Getting closer to Murmansk, the landscape had changed remarkably. We could notice snow-capped mountains. The colors were losing their saturation, gaining the monophonic sullen shade. We admired the rocky terrain of the city, and we were anxious to get onto the one of the hills to see the city and the Kola Bay from above. Soon the weather changed and it started raining, and passing through the winding roads of Norway, we found a place to sleep. The wind, which recently felt barely, became stronger and the weather noticeably colder. It gave the feeling of anxiety to the harsh landscape and filled us with loneliness. And again on the road to the North Peninsula.
Иногда ведет себя в дороге только интуиция. Едешь и думаешь, что ты там еще можешь увидеть? Какой-нибудь маленький поселок.
Да, приезжаешь, а там действительно маленький поселок. Хорошо, что мы не вернулись с этого полуострова и поехали дальше.
Да, и какое замечательное место мы нашли.
We got here around midnight. During white nights, the sun is always above the horizon. Looking at this vast expanse, I felt a sense of detachment from myself, and at the same time, my presence in that world. It was past midnight as we set up a tent and had supper and went to meet the sea. Among the noise of the surf and the north wind, we froze in silent contemplation, trying to coordinate our breathing with the breath of the world. And here we are again on the road. The heart is compressed looking at the greatness that we are leaving. But one of the most northern capes is ahead.
Даже мои мотоперчатки называются Нордкап. Представляешь, какое-то популярное место среди байкеров?
Угу. Я помню, как мерзли руки у тебя в этих перчатках.
Это потому, что мы на Нордкап не поехали. А вот поехали бы, обязательно грели бы.
As soon as we left the tourist road, which occasionally we crossed, we were alone with rocks and wind. It was a long way in this permafrost. We were exhausted by cold wind that penetrates to the bones. But where could we find a shelter on this endless plateau? And at night, finally we came to a small village where we rented a small hostel. It was free and open to guests. What a welcome, warm and cozy that home was.
Хорошо. Самобытно.
After a rest, we went to the lighthouse on the edge of the earth. Sitting among the rocks, moss, and withered grass, looking at the sea, the space around, we were talking and drinking tea, while it's quickly cooling down on the cold wind.
С возвращением.
It is here that is something that makes me feel the attachment to something holistic and profound.
О чем думаешь?
Я бы хотела сейчас оказаться в том уютном домике.
Да, хозяин дома с душой подошел к оформлению интерьера. Это такой маленький краеведческий музей.
When the time came to say goodbye to this house, we decided to leave a note in the guest book. Dear friends, passing on a motorcycle from Belarus to the cold north of Norway, it is nice to stay in a warm and cozy house. We wish this house to be a heaven for itinerant travelers for a long time, and we, after having a rest here for a few days, are going to hit the road again. We left the Cape on the winding road of a frozen plateau. By this piercing wind, permafrost, its stones, the Cape defends itself from vulgar intrusions. I was riding and thinking. I was told many times that there are many other places with more vivid landscapes. Why did I choose the north of Norway again? There is no target to get the maximum amount of new impressions. The variety of attractions, often invented and imposed upon us by modern tourism industry, distract us from something real.
А вот остров ветряных электростанций я оставил на финал нашей поездки. В тот день он был в облаках. Жаль, материал там снять не удалось.
Зато какое хорошее место мы нашли для ночлега.
And the last evening we sat on the bank in silence. After all, the sacred feelings can be expressed only by metaphor or silence. During all that time, we have gained access to the element which was holding us, and finally we merged with it. And looking at the landscape, majestic and severe, I was thinking that the North would remain as a symbol for me, fidelity that reveals the truth.